All righty, let me just reset the camera control. It goes to manual every time. All right, great. Well, want to welcome everybody, and I think it's 7 o'clock, so I will call, 7:01. I will call to order the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, January 27th. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, a couple things to update. Today, we were excited to welcome Congressman Courtney, who came to visit Galenham High School. He was, so I was able to join them for their walk around the school, but they were looking at different courses that the hand offers for career development. And so these pathways to, other careers. And Daniel Hand has been, for a long time been supportive of different kinds of more classes and things like that for things outside of just the typical kind of college. People take these classes or going to college, but looking at other ways that, career options that kids might want to experience. So I was able to sit in on a TV production class, which is really cool. A criminal justice class, and a bake shop, which was interesting. They were making carrot cake. So all these different things I thought was really nice to see the students learning about different, career opportunities and chatting and how I think I was very impressed, just to see TJ did a great job showing all the great things that the high school offers.
TJ baking?
TJ was not baking, and unfortunately, the cake wasn't done, so we didn't get to sample it.
That was one of the most popular classes that my kids are bake shop. I'm telling you, that was hard to get into.
And they have had kids move into culinary after and take that because some discover a real passion. And I was surprised to learn that they won a lot of accolades in the TV production courses that they offer there. They've got some awards, stuff. There's a Fox News thing, I guess they participate in every year. The channel, the Fox channel thing. So anyways, it was kind of interesting to see all that. So it was nice to have him visit us for the day. The other good news we got recently is that we received back from Eversource $308,600 from the Connecticut Energy Efficiency Fund Incentive Program, and that is for our town campus geothermal. So we're really excited to get that. And when we had moved forward with the project, we ended up doing an appropriation to help fund that. And so one of the steps in that was getting this Eversource grant back, or its program. And so we got a check for that a couple weeks ago. So that was really exciting news. Any other liaison reports? Selectmen comments? No?
We're all mired in the budget season.
I know,
So
we are in the budget
that would be our
season.
consistent update at this
That's
point.
true. We're in the budget season. I feel like we just keep having meetings. So I know we had some special
Had a
meetings
lot.
at Academy, we've had budget workshops, so it's like, I feel like I'm just here again. All right, with that, I guess we can open it up to citizens' comments, and please raise your hand and state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 2 minutes. We prefer to have public comment right now associated with the items that are on the agenda. So, all right, so I guess first public comment.
Hi, I'm Heather Crawford, 553 Summer Hill Road, Chair of your Conservation Commission. I apologize for its tardiness, but I did send you all an email this afternoon. Anybody get a chance to look at it? Okay. So I don't want to bother reading the letter since I've only got 2 minutes, but I would like to say that the Conservation Commission feels strongly that the potential expertise that we could offer to the town has been ignored. Literally, in the 18 years that we've been a commission, not one other agency has specifically asked us for input. And in things that are as interdisciplinary as roadwork, transportation, public safety, the environment plays into everything, and we have not been consulted, asked questions, and inquired on anything. So in this particular case, we feel, we've been discussing this with the tree people, we've been discussing this with, among the board members, and we've had a meeting on Thursday, and we were sitting there going, we've got to get into this. And then on Saturday, it was like, oh, look what's on the board of selectmen. So you've got my letter. We really feel that if you are going to be looking at a corridor between to try and connect the schools, that you look at all the possible prospects, not just can we sneak a sidewalk somewhere along Green Hill, because the quality of Green Hill is one that people enjoy driving down. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt when you're trying to get to high school at 7:20 in the morning, but it's got the character that everybody loves about Madison. Trying to put sidewalks into it while cutting down all of those mature trees is just going to detract from what everybody appreciates about Madison, as well as causing significant environmental damage. So I'm going to stop it there. Please feel free to ask us any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other hands raised? Yeah, please. Yep.
Hi, yes, Valerie Parentesis. I live at 17 Dairy Hill Road. This is not the topic on the agenda, but I did think it's important for the selectmen, women to hear the concern. It is about the street signs that have gone up, and I was not here when things went up. Unfortunately, my mother passed. I've been home now this week, and many people have come to visit me. Questions have been raised that why is Dairy Hill important enough to have street signs when they have children in Madison and they don't have street signs? Another friend who's a lawyer out of state raised, could there be litigation against the town of Madison because we're only protecting one street in Madison theoretically with the street signage about children and slow and 25 miles an hour, et cetera, where other streets don't. So I want to bring it to your attention. I want you to understand what's being said out there, and I want you to understand what others in Madison are feeling, and even like, how did you rate? Who do you know? And it's like, guys, I've been in Florida, I just got home, I know nothing about this. And so, I mean, again, you need to kind of think about, are we treating everybody in Madison equally? And then people are seeing respectfully, I do live on the block, a kind of affluent block, and are kind of coming by saying, why you? So I just wanted you to know that, so you can hear that, and then obviously decide what needs to be done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Any hands raised on, or any hands raised in person? Yes, please, and then we'll go to online.
Hi, Terry Van Gelder, 17 Bartlett Drive. Just to elaborate on what the chairman of the Conservation Commission in writing expressed is that particular project that you're looking at funding to study $92,000 worth. It sounds like you're going to be studying just the idea of putting sidewalks in along Green Hill Road, which may not be the best thing to do, because as I understand it, when I first came to a meeting and the discussion was about sidewalks, it was with the idea of connecting the schools so the kids could go back and forth. It was for no other purpose. Ideally, the way to do that would be, as Heather mentioned in her very well-written and scientifically researched letter to you all, is to do something like they have at the Hammonasset Greenway Trail. And it would be through the woods. And that would be the safest measure to do it. And it would be the best for overall for the community. You've heard repeatedly from various neighbors who live along the road, particularly ones that would be grossly affected by having to take down trees. And there's scientific data that shows when you take down trees and you widen the road, people drive faster. It's going to be less safe. So please, again, $92,000 is a lot of money. You should be able to, with that money, look at all options and what makes sense. And one of those possibilities would be the sidewalk going just down Logantown to, heading in the direction of Route 1. You'd have that problem, of course, of the road. You can't go a direct route that way, but somehow, if that's the ultimate goal, sidewalk to connecting to town resources, you have to look at that. But as far as school to school, please expand the broad view and use that money to study all options and not be locked into what sounds like hard and fast swim on sidewalks on Green Hill Road. There's just too many problems with that.
Thank you very much for your comment.
I just want to say thank you for appointing Terry to the Conservation.
Yeah. Any other comments? Any hands raised online?
No.
Seeing no hands.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Just one.
okay.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. This is Jessica Joseph at 129 Green Hill Road. And just, I know there's a few folks online, by a show of hands, raising the hands online in support of the sidewalk between the Daniel Hand High School, Poston Middle School, and Neck River Elementary School. I'm not sure if that's a possibility to do that, or if you can see that, but that I also am in favor of certainly trying to make this the most environmentally friendly, if however we can make this most environmentally friendly and safest for our students to be able to access the schools, and even further eventually, but just wanted to make that point known that we're in support of this.
Well, thank you. And I know that the board has received significant number of emails over the last 4 to 6 weeks, I think, in supporting the sidewalk project. So just to know that the board is aware of those and has received those comments. So even if you don't speak tonight, it doesn't discount the fact that we received, I think 60 or 70 emails, I think. It was a lot. So there are a lot of people out there, obviously, that are supportive as well. And we've had multiple meetings, so we've heard from neighbors as well. So, but thank you for that. So, and for public comment, I guess with that, we can move on, I think. There'll be an opportunity at the end of the meeting for public comment as well. So moving on to item number 6, consent agenda. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second. Okay, any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye, great. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 7, discuss and take action to approve calling the annual town meeting on Wednesday, February 12, 2025 at 7 p.m. at Town Campus, 8 Campus Drive, Room C, Hammonasset Room, and remote via Zoom for the following purposes: review state of the town report, review 5-year capital plan, to receive the annual report of the permanent boards, commissions, agencies, committees, and the town's audit report in accordance with Article 2, Section 2.141 of the town charter. Need a second? Okay. So this is basically what we do every year. And it's just a presentation. I usually lead the presentation, and it just kind of reviews where we are in the town. We've held it, I just want to make a comment, we've held it in the Hammonasset Room for the last 4 years, I think, because we like to offer a hybrid capability. So it hasn't been in Polson for quite a while, and the hybrid capability means more people can access it from home. So just want to, this is what we do every year. There's no voting that takes place at this meeting either, because I know people hear town meeting, they think there's voting, but that's not what this is. It's just required by our charter. So any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so it's just setting the meeting date. Item number 8 is discuss and take action to approve calling a public hearing on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in Town Campus, 8 Campus Drive, Room C, Hammonasset Room, remote via Zoom for the purpose of a budget presentation by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education conducted by the Board of Finance in accordance with the town charter.
So moved.
Second. Okay, and this is just also an annual public hearing we do for this part of the budget process. We encourage the public to come. We offer once again in the Hammonasset Room, so we can offer a high quality Zoom experience. It's a good setup for that. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great. Item number 9, discuss and take action to accept a recommendation from the Facilities Department to award a contract to William B. Meyer for the Brown School Move Management Project for $149,732.50, and to authorize the first selectman to sign all documents and contracts associated with this award. Company is on the state DAS contract, budgeted in the fiscal year 24-25 CIP plan for the Brown FE management project and a Neck River Elementary School project budget.
Moved.
Second. Okay, so this is part of this process that we have to go through, obviously, with the new school, which is, we're excited is going to be finished in June and ready for business in September. But obviously, you're closing 2 schools and opening a new school and moving into there's some expenses associated with that. So I don't know, Peter, if you just want to highlight this quickly and then see if board members have questions.
This is the move between of moving everybody up from Jeffrey to Neck River Elementary. This is also including the move from Ryerson over to Brown, and then also any furniture that's going to be moving up from Jeffrey to the Brown School. This is the coverage of the actual move itself, as well as any boxes that are going to be needed, which is roughly 4,800 boxes that are going to be purchased.
Wow,
Jeez.
not a small move.
Any other questions? No? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great. Excited to see that process start. Thanks for all the heavy lifting, literally, will be going on from that. So, item number 10, discuss and take action to approve a bid waiver requested from the technology department to expense funds to purchase IT network infrastructure deployment specifically to the existing town of Madison Public School Systems. Company is specialty vendor with intrinsic knowledge of town IT systems.
So, second.
Okay, and I think Art is on. If you want to just explain this, because this is working with somebody that does a lot of your infrastructure work, IT network work.
Yes, I mean, this, and I believe Adam Levitas is also available to add to this if necessary, but I wanted to mention that Omnidata is a company that's intimately familiar with our network infrastructure as it stands now. We use them for the highest level of our configuration of our switching equipment and our local area and wide area networks. Or if you will, it's more of our town-wide area network. And it's all schools in town. So they're also a company that's been in business for quite some time, 25 years plus that I've known of them. And we've worked with them a lot, and they do quality work. They are only bidding on this bid waiver is only asking for the services piece of it. The hardware piece is bid separately. So this is just the services for configuration and just some mounting of equipment as necessary.
Any further questions?
Do we have an order of magnitude of what we expect this award to be?
Under $30,000. It's in the, I believe it's in the item on the agenda. 29,000 change. The next item is for that to approve that.
Because we didn't do a formal bid for this, we need to get a bid waiver from the Board of Selectmen.
Gotcha.
So, but we kind of have to use them basically, because they do all our other work, so. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then item number 11, discuss and take action to award a contract to Omnidata for IT network infrastructure deployment specific to the existing town of Madison and Madison Public School Systems in the amount of $29,550. And to authorize for Selectmen to sign all documents and contracts associated with this award budgeted in the Neck River Elementary School project.
So moved.
Second, okay, this is just actually an award contract. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, great.
Thank you very much.
Item number 12, discuss and take action to award contracts to selected vendors. And there's a list in your packet, which I don't have my pack. I don't think we need to read it in the motion. We'll just say selected vendors included, yeah, I didn't get a chance to, yeah, why don't I just read the names so they're in the public record, but this is part of the motion. Yeah, I'll just read it as part of the motion. I didn't get it. I usually have my iPod. I don't have my iPad. So I'm like, okay, pardon? So, discuss, so I would amend the motion that's on the agenda and say, discuss and take action to award contracts to, these are different. Lake Shore, so I had to read the vendors, Lake Shore, Red Thread, School Specialty, and Meteor Education. To selected vendor, so these vendors for furniture, fixtures, and equipment as recommended by the Ad Hoc New School Building Committee in an amount of, so these total up to 1 million, okay, because I know it was kind of fluctuating a little bit last week. $1,220,626.48 for the Neck River Elementary School project, and to authorize the first selectman to sign all documents and contracts associated with these awards. Vendors are Connecticut state contracts budgeted in Neck River Elementary School project.
So move.
Okay, and this was just voted on, right? That's why I know it was kind of the last minute. You guys were still voting on making sure you got the packages and stuff.
Yeah, so this is the first and largest vote for it's called the FF&E and playground packages. And these are all, this is for furniture, and all of this is the state contract, and it's already been approved by the school building committee. So we have other forthcoming votes in your packets. There was a little chart of when the expected timeline is that this body will look at it, as well as the expected values therein. But the intent is that as we get them, we try to push them through so we can let out the purchase orders and contracts and get the equipment ordered as needed. So
Yeah,
this was just for furniture.
basically June, like, they're gonna start moving the moving process, right?
We're probably about July 1st, so
July
as
1st,
we
okay.
scheduled for the bulk of the furniture deliveries and some of the AV components, those are in the bid packages, those are scheduled to start July 1st. That gives Gilbane 30 days after the targeted substantial completion date to wrap up the bulk of the punch list items. So that way we don't have movers going by, painters cleaning up the movings and things like that. So around July is when we try to have movers come and furniture being installed after the work is had a chance.
And there's no concern, I'm just knowing furniture a year ago, it was like it takes 6 months to get a chair, right? So
Yes.
we're not in that zone anymore.
That was one of the first questions we asked. when we got
Yeah.
into this, and,
Okay.
you know, the same question, things like IT switches and servers,
Yeah.
but what's the timeline, what's the duration, because that has to be in even sooner.
Yeah.
Because you need to set up some of the building systems. So that's, each one of those have been checked, and there aren't any glaring issues that we've seen, so.
Right.
It's all good.
Any other questions? All right, great. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. All right, great. It'll be interesting to see. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
So,
You see Megan?
yes, yeah, and I know in February, we're gonna have a bigger conversation about where they are in the budget and all that. Because I know that had come up in the workshop, but we'll go through
Yeah,
all of that. And we'll see you. But thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, item number 13 is discuss and take action to approve releasing funds for the planning reserve in an amount of $32,150 for additional funding of a feasibility study for the Greenhill Mungertown Road pedestrian and roadway improvement projects pending Board of Finance approval.
So move.
Second. Okay, great. So this is obviously a project we've had a lot of public conversation about. And I think after getting a lot of the public feedback, one of the biggest things that stood out is that we all know, having a child at the hand and a Paulson, there are a lot of things with the roadway that really need to be looked at again. There's been studies done on that road multiple times and improvements made in the past, but now you're adding in this other school. And I will say, bus drivers have come up to me, not just Bruce, but another bus driver talking about the concerns about the corners and how that's all gonna work from a traffic management standpoint and safety standpoint. Plus neighbors, obviously, everybody recognizes one of the reasons we wanna put sidewalks is because it is a heavily used road and dangerous. A lot of people don't feel comfortable walking, let alone biking on Green Hill Road. So what we asked Rob to do was go and said LOTSIP, the beauty of LOTSIP which is the grant that we're gonna be applying for, 100% of the cost of construction is paid for by the state, and it can cover both roadway improvements and sidewalk improvements. So we said, well, let's bundle this all together. If we're gonna do this, let's do a much broader package to address a lot of the road concerns as well. And so we went out to Stantec to get an updated price to include looking a much more detailed look at the roadway, in addition to the sidewalk, feasibility. And so that's what Rob kind of highlighted in the memo. I don't know if you want to spend a minute, just highlighting, what they will be doing.
Sure.
And this is not approving a plan. This is them to draft a updated plan that this board would get to review before we can apply, because just to highlight the steps. Then they'll come back with a revised plan, then this board would vote, as we always do, to approve an application for a grant. So we would know exactly what we were submitting up to the state for the construction spending grant. But go ahead.
Sure. So yeah, like you said, I pretty much nailed it. But they're going to relook at that corridor between Mungertown and the Daniel Hand driveway. We had paved that road a number of years back, but obviously since with the school going in and there are certain difficulties with buses through that area. Some of the roadway tightens. I know the corner at Mungertown going northbound on Green Hill, the turning radius, from what I hear, may not be appropriate. So we contacted Stantec, and they're going to look at doing kind of like a feasibility analysis of that corridor to kind of see what safety improvements we can make roadway related. If there's any type of realignments, what else is there? Curb extensions, traffic calming measures, anything area to improve that section of roadway. Obviously, they're going to look at incorporating if it's feasible for sidewalks. They're going to provide a number of alternatives, which, there'll be a number of factors, which will be environmental concerns. There'll be cost implications. They'll run a number of different scenarios with these roadway enhancements, in addition to the potentially putting in pedestrian improvements there as well. And once we have those, once this sort of preliminary design is complete, we could present it here at another meeting, show the alternatives that Stantec came up with, and ultimately whatever the selected alternative is, we can move forward and they could package that up and we could send it to our local COG for a lots of application.
And obviously we can, one of the concerns, because they helped present when we had this first meeting, was historic trees as well as the impact on the neighbors and trees and all that. So that will be part of the consideration of the design process. So we'd see what the recommendations are to address those concerns.
And I did see in here that they're going to identify any tree that is larger than 6 inches in diameter. So as part of their study.
Yeah, we've spoken to them at length about the different concerns that we have in the area, and especially trees and some particular issues that we've had there, and just the overall roadway geometry, and particularly with our concern with the new school there, and it probably seeing a certain increase in traffic volume because of that school. So they're going to look at that as part of the study, and then ultimately, they'll have a few alternatives from everyone to discuss.
And I think this is appropriate following some of the discussion that happened with the school as first too, right? There was some things highlighted, traffic, management concerns and things like that. So we thought, let's take a pause here, pull those all together and have a bigger plan than just focusing on just the side. Right? Like, so we're just supplementing what we already had in the budget for this with additional money from planning. Bruce?
I have problems with this on a couple of different layers. I have a process problem first, and that is this board hasn't taken a vote on whether or not this is a problem we want to solve. The discussion is fine, but the more money we throw into study, the harder it is going to be to stop that work from being completed. We will start to fall into the sunk cost bias. We've already spent $100,000. We might as well do it, which leads me to the second dilemma I have, which is framing this as being free to the taxpayers is problematic because it ignores the utility of the sidewalk itself. It ignores the impact that the sidewalk is going to have on the property owners, the trees. And I don't want to, I'm not a person to overstate the tree stuff, but I think we can all agree sidewalks that get used increase pedestrian safety. At its core, I do not believe this is a sidewalk that's going to get used. And so every penny we spend to get us a little bit closer to that finish line of a sidewalk troubles me deeply. So I'm a hard no on this extra money. If we want to sit down and talk about road safety improvements to that section, I say, great, then let's do that. But we were assured up and down that putting the school where it is doesn't require anything else. I mean, and remember, this was after we purchased land adjacent to the Green Hill campus for this school, so that the schools could be adjacent to each other. And then it was moved, and there was a traffic study that said, we don't need to do anything to the roads, it's all good. Now the school's gonna open in 10 months or so, and, oh, we need to do a study. Well, the horse is out of the barn at this point. And yes, the turning radius, I can tell you that there is a running bet on who's gonna knock the fire hydrant first there. But just on my bus route alone, I've got a half a dozen turns that I have to make, that I have to use the entirety of both lanes. This is endemic to Madison. It is what you get with a 200-year-old town that was mapped out for horse and buggy, not for 45-foot-long school buses or tractor trailers or anything else. We managed to get by. We managed to do it. The Nortontown Green Hill intersection, you need both lanes to make that turn. Going up Nortontown to Wildwood, I mean, that's a lot of fun every morning. So my point is, we have problematic intersections all over town. And I don't know, I'm against this project.
You wanted a vote, and this is the vote. So I'm just saying, you asked for a vote, so you're, but.
So this is a vote for the project. So if we vote yes for this, we're voting for the project.
We're moving the project along with the process. But I'm just saying, if you don't want to vote for the additional funds because you don't want to spend any more money on this, just vote no. I think this has been you've had the same opinion from the start, and that's fine. You're welcome to have that. I think we've heard from the community, a heavy voice from the community that they want this. The Board of Education has made a formal request and is recommending it. We had the police department talking about traffic safety issues at this road and the corner and concerns. So we've heard from other, town entities requesting this to move forward. And so I'm just saying, I get it, you can vote no. I just think that we have to, but this is normally what we do, right? If we don't support something, we won't fund it. And so we need this additional dollars to move the project forward. They're still going to come back with a plan. We're still going to be able to weigh in and address all the concerns, that we all have. But otherwise we're just kind of stuck here where we have a community really wanting something and the school district would like it. And I personally think it's a great thing to add. So I just.
And I think if we could have any data that said this sidewalk was going to be used, I'd be the first one to stand up and say, this is a great idea, like I have been for the other sideway projects that we've done, because they do get used. But
there was no data.
But there's no data until you build it. We had data the last time that cited on the state DOT websites that sidewalks make things safer, and it had all that data. And I remember the links in.
Sidewalks that get used.
No.
Sidewalks that don't get used don't help anybody.
But you also, but in fairness, right, I kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth, because at the end of the day, you can't really also argue the point that they won't get used either. There's no data for that.
Okay, so who is the likely user? What is the universe of users?
I think we heard from them. I mean, it was all the people that emailed us. We had 60 to 80 emails from the community that said they were, mothers who want to walk their kids to school. It was, people that want to walk after work. It's people that want to ride their bike. It's people that, it was a whole host of different people.
I hope people don't bike on the sidewalk.
But again, an example. But I guess the point is we heard from plenty of people that were in support of the use of it.
Yes, but the people that we heard from that were living on the other side of town are not gonna use it. They're not gonna drive over, park at the high school and walk over to the elementary school for recreation.
No, but some were also in favor of like the, another example was like the high school cross-country team and making sure that they're safe on running on that road.
So, I mean, 2 laps on the track and they will have covered the same distance. Where are they after that? They're back on the road.
I mean, look, Bruce, there's no way we're gonna have data to address all we just have a disagreement, right? And I don't think there's anything that we can do to change your mind. So, I think we just have to vote on this and decide you're either gonna move it forward for the next stage where we design it or not. And I hear you're making all really valid points, but I think we've heard a whole host of other valid points that support us moving forward, that's all. So I'm comfortable just having a vote on this. I mean, usually we like to get unanimity with the board. We're not always gonna get it. This is where we have just a philosophical view that's different, right? And so I don't know if other board members want to weigh in their thoughts.
I mean, my big thought is there's been a lot of focus on the schools, and I think we've been hearing from a lot of the elementary school families, which I would encourage them to contact the administration of the schools, because I've emailed with Dr. Cook and he said walking without a parent is not under consideration for grades K through 3 at the time, and it is only, it's in review for grades 4 and 5. So, and that would be for walking or riding to and from school without being supported by a parent. So just for anybody that's in the lower grades, I would definitely encourage them to contact the school administration for better clarity on that as they're going through that decision-making process. I do appreciate in this plan that there are roadway safety things that are being looked at that are independent of the sidewalk, because there's a number of instances where I think we could just add a stop sign and it would increase some safety. So that I'm definitely in support of.
So let me ask you one question to Rob, because I think when we get this back, will they break out the design and then cost elements? So roadway improvements, sidewalk,
Yeah,
like they'll break the budget out by what is being, so I'm saying, so then you'll see like, okay, here's the roadway stuff. This is what it's costing, this is what's being approved, here's the pedestrian stuff.
And I do have a question in regards to that too. Are they only looking at sidewalks, or would they also consider looking at an expansion of an asphalt surface that had some sort of bollards or something like that, similar to what you see over at Hammond Asset, that would create a surface that the cross-country runners would be more agreeable with using, as opposed to just a sidewalk surface that, you know, to Bruce's point, and I do agree, working with athletes for a number of years, they're not going to run on the sidewalk more than likely. So that would be a consideration. And then also just what are the repair costs associated with sidewalks versus the asphalt surfaces of a roadway?
So we would look at different surfaces, because I noticed, have you been to the new school in Guilford, the Guilford High School?
Yes,
They actually have an asphalt sidewalk that goes all the way down that road,
okay,
all the way around and down, I don't know the road names, but it's extensive and it's connecting it to another sports field. Okay, that's a not very populated neighborhood, it's not very dense. But they have this sidewalk that goes all the way down this one road and then all the way down the other route, and it is asphalt.
okay.
And I mentioned this to you, so I think, but we were talking about this, like, you know, and it's connecting it to a sports field that the school might be using at times, or a town park or something, so, and I was like, well, maybe that would be less, you know, intrusive versus having our concrete, you know, sidewalk in certain sections, right? So we could explore these things. as we
Sure.
Go through the whole planning and.
So let me
design
answer that
phase.
question in 2 parts. One, because this potentially, if it moves forward, will be a lots of application, at least that's the plan. They have a standard cost estimating form that's required per this grant, so there'll be an itemized cost of all the different types of items that'll be used for the project, so that can be broken down out easily enough where which ones roadway related, pedestrian improvement related. The second part of the question is, I don't think anything's off the table as far as what kind of improvements can be made, and that's part of what they're gonna be looking at here. I think as long as it meets standard engineering practice and it meets ADA accessibility and those sort of practices, I think it's an option. And that's really what this is to look at is, and I understand Bruce's concern is sometimes, well, the project's happening or, if we start going down this road where I understand that point, but this really is to look at different options to see what really is in the best interest of the project. Maybe one of these options truly doesn't make sense, or maybe one of them is something that we haven't thought of before, and it's like, you know what, this is minimally invasive. It may be cost prohibitive, it may not be. We really don't know unless we haven't looked at it in a bit further detail, because the previous iteration of this was simply a concept that Stantec had done, and it raised a lot of eyebrows because it was going around the tree. We had to cross. There was a pedestrian bridge, I think, that went over the Neck River. Now they have that crazy water main that's sticking
There's
out
a
over
lot
there.
of different things now. Yeah, it's part of-
But
That's why we need to look at the whole thing.
Yeah, so
There's a lot of-
to Peggy's point, this will just give some alternatives, and then I think a broader conversation can be had where, well, we should stop here. It's gonna cost $3 million to do this. Is there really a cost benefit to it? Or no, hey, listen, this could be minimally invasive. We can make maybe just some roadway improvements, or we could get the sidewalk in. I just don't think we know the answer to that until in my opinion.
And I think the roadway improvements might create an opportunity to make the pedestrian piece less intrusive also, right?
Mhm.
Depending on how they look at the road. So that's why we thought this is a better way to tackle it holistically and address all the community concerns. So,
I also don't want to tie ourselves, I know I've said this before, but I don't want to tie ourselves to just school children and the school times. To me, this is like an opportunity for, safety in general in that neighborhood. It's let's be honest, Green Hill's a cut through. People fly down those roads, after school hours too. And it's not safe, we'll be sitting there, at a sports field in front of Polson and people are flying by. It's just not a safe road. So I think any opportunity to improve the safety in that community is a wonderful opportunity.
and it's also a community used facility outside of school hours.
Yep.
Because of all the athletic fields, the tennis courts, the track,
Voting.
yeah, I mean, there's just a lot going on there all the time. And I mean, we saw that a little bit with the heat maps, right? In terms of,
The bicycle
from the
pedestrian.
bicycle pedestrian committee when they
Yep,
talked about
yep.
that, so.
Yeah, but that data was fake. That data wasn't real. I reran the data myself, using the same criteria for Middle Beach Road. And Opening Hill gets used, Warpus gets used. There were, using the same criteria for walking and doing Middle Beach Road and then applying it to that section by the high school, there were literally 0 walkers. That heat map was misrepresenting it. It was including a bunch of other uses that are beyond the scope of this discussion, so.
Well, I mean, I think that's a pretty strong statement.
I can show you the data.
I mean, I'm just saying, we all had kids that went to this facility, so you will be having one.
Next year.
All of us in this community, and we know it's from day one, it's always been traffic has been a problem there all the time, and it's a heavily used part of town. So, anyway,
I'd like to weigh in
you haven't
here.
weighed in either,
Yeah.
but,
I find Rob's argument very persuasive. It's what I call the options argument. And I noticed that part of the proposed language of what's going to be studied is we'll study alternate sidewalk routing as well as feasible safety improvements. Well, I'd like to know what those are, what those options are, what the alternate routing is. Scott mentioned what's the safety improvements. And I'd like to know that list before we decide whether or not to go ahead. So to me, this is money well spent. I do think we should do this study. so that we know what our options are for dealing with a very awkward, heavily used intersection, which is going to be getting more people and more vehicles than ever. So I'm in favor of moving ahead with this.
The thing that was disturbing to me too was hearing from Chief Drum that there were 3 fatalities on it as well. To me, one life saved is worth this study in spades to me. So let's make the road safer.
So-
In that spirit, though, why don't we expand the study to the entirety of Green Hill? Why don't we look at the improvements, or maybe from 79 west to, I know it's Wildwood, but the Route 1 terminus. I mean, if, because otherwise what we're asking people to do is walk on the non-sidewalk portion of the road to get to a sidewalk. And that seems like we're enticing people to walk on what we're calling an unsafe road. So if we're going to follow that logic through to its conclusion, we're thinking too small here.
You gotta start somewhere.
You gotta start somewhere. This is a big section of road. It has been the primary consideration because of the changes that are going on with the school district to focus on this area. It's still a pretty large. So I just think look, this has to go to the Board of Finance too. So it has another approval spot. I would like to, if everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
All in favor of approving item 13, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Any nays?
Nay?
This is a nay, not me. No, a nay, okay. And, all right, I thank you for that. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations. I respect your view. I respect everybody who's raised really good points, and I think it's made the project better because we've had these conversations. And I think it'll continue to make it better when we hear from the public what their concerns are. And as we see this design move forward, we'll have an opportunity to really refine it and I think try to address everybody's concerns. So, all right, with that, thank you, and thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, and the next item is obviously just the approval of hiring Stantec. Discuss and take action to award a contract to Stantec Consulting Services for a feasibility study for the Green Hill Mulberton Road Pedestrian and Roadway Improvements Project in the amount of $60,150. And to authorize the first selectman to sign all documents and contracts associated with this award pending approval of additional funding budgeted in fiscal year 23-24 CIP and planning reserve.
So moved.
Okay, so same thing, just as the contract award, and this would still be pending Board of Finance approval for the extra fund. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays?
Nope.
One nay, okay, great. Item passes, thank you. Item number 15, discuss and take action to adopt a draft referendum timeline for the Academy Community Center Building Project.
Is this the slide that was in our package?
Yes.
It's the very last slide, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, Jeannie, if you just want to put up on the screen. Can I get a motion and a second?
Oh, motion.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
all right, great. So, this is not committing anything to, but it's basically saying we're now gonna work towards this May 6th referendum. Any final votes will happen, as you can see on the timeline later. But it allows us to start planning, booking rooms, engaging staff to focus on this. And gives us kind of a cemented timeline to work towards. So I don't know if you have any questions. That's why there's TBD on there, because now we have to go and look at schedule availability and rooms. But really, we'd spend February figuring out what is the dollar amount, are we gonna go out to bid after the referendum? Are we gonna try to hold the bids? We're gonna involve, town staff and have all those conversations. And then in March, we would ramp up the public education piece of this about the referendum. We'd have multiple public information sessions with the target date of us calling the referendum April 9th. And that allows us a time to meet all our deadlines, get a postcard out. I assume we wanted to do a postcard and all that.
I think we should.
That was good last time.
Yeah, I thought that was very helpful. So really, this is not, like I said, it's all kind of it's not committing us to anything. It's saying we are now going to work towards the May 6th deadline. Things could happen, as we know, we learned with the grant, different moving parts are happening, but I think we all feel that we want to work towards this May 6th date. So any comments on this?
I think an important call out is that we'll be spending the next 40-ish days really trying to get stuff down on paper and then spending the month of March disseminating that out to the public. So, the early part of the schedule doesn't have public sessions, but it's time spent to get to that point where in March we can have a robust community discussion about what's going on. So, I'm just calling it out
Yeah.
in this schedule. that's all.
And it gives us an opportunity to make sure we're answering everybody's questions, right? So that everything that we kind of move forward with will be addressed when we have the public information sessions.
And then at what point in the schedule would we be coming up with the draft wording
The question.
of the question?
So I think we would start that process in February. We don't actually vote on it until, I'm trying to think, I'm trying to remember now. When do we actually vote on the resolution information? I think it's not until April 9th. But I will confirm that. We're basically gonna be figuring it out. I think,
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do like the idea that we're doing these in special meetings, just so that it's not, it's not item 17 on a long, I think, we can focus on the one topic
Yeah.
in our meetings.
And and the Board of Finance, I'll update them on our conversations when I go on the 19th, and then they'll have to have a special meeting when we vote on that. So they might want to have another meeting or join us for one of our meetings. We'll figure it out since they have to vote on this as well. But I think basically, I think this works and it gives us time to be thoughtful and get questions answered, and get council involved, and then it gives the public time to really soak it in. Because we also know that usually attention spans can wane for a while, but everybody will be very laser focused as this leads up to May 6th. So it gives us an opportunity to really get out there with a lot of information for the public in March. So if everybody's good, then we'll just adopt this so that, everybody understands this is the direction we're going. The Academy Committee would like to have some sort of firm confirmation as well.
So this helps them.
Yeah, I think it helps everybody. It helps also the registrars to prepare for this, because it's probably higher voter turnout than we would typically see in a budget referendum, and make sure they've got all the staffing and everything
Would
that
like
they're.
get 1,500 people?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
We could get them all.
Yeah.
Want everybody.
I know.
Postman's gonna do that.
And maybe it'll be a sunny day. So, all right, well, with that then, I guess all in favor of approving the draft timeline, say aye. Aye. All right, great. Okay, so we'll move towards that and we'll start reaching out about dates. Gina will be working with that so we can kind of pencil in some certain things. And I do want to let the public know that we might pencil in dates, but we won't publish things until we really are firm, because we don't want to have confusion about when we're having meetings. So I know some people say, well, I thought they talked about having a meeting about that. Why is it on the calendar? Until we're 100% firm that we can deliver what we need to do, we have room. And then the agenda doesn't always go up as soon as we put it on the calendar. The agenda sometimes is kind of working, especially if we're going to be, having multiple things on it. So sometimes the agenda doesn't get posted till a couple of days before the meeting. So, and by, we really we don't have to publish it until 24 hours before the meeting, the agenda. So we try to do it earlier, but sometimes we just can't. All right, so moving on, I guess, to citizens' comments. Do we have any hands raised in the room? Yes, please.
Terry Van Adel, 17 Bartlett Drive, now speaking as a member of the Conservation Commission. Thank you very much. I'd like to talk again about those two items, number 13 and 14. In reference to that, when you say you got 50 to 60 emails from people who were in favor of it, I do want to point out that it was one weekend where I saw, and I'm sure Bruce, you can verify this.
That's okay. It depends on if you're gonna yell at me.
I need better glasses.
Yeah, it's all good.
But there was Madison, Connecticut posting, Facebook posting.
Yes.
And it
been a while.
was from, okay, if you want sidewalks, send an email to Board of Selectmen, here's their address, everybody chime in. And we're like, yeah, done. So that's where you may have gotten 40 to 50 emails, but was that same plea sent to other people who may not have the same view? No. So anyway, that was one source of some data, but not your conglomerate input. So keep that in mind when you're saying we got 50 to 60 emails. Consider the source. That was a rally around the flag in favor of. Now, when you're talking about the heat-seeking data, I totally agree with you. When you have those people here in the audience, and I don't know their names.
The
But
member
when
of the bicycle pedestrian.
He was the chair.
Right.
Yeah, so serving on a volunteer, serving on a committee as well, it's town similar to you, so.
Great. When you ask the question, can you determine that heat source? Is it a car in the parking lot? Or is it somebody on the road walking? There's no data for that. So that data is not conclusive. And to Bruce's point, data is not conclusive as far as that app that they were using. So keep that in mind. And let's see. I was a cross-country runner in Danielham.
What year?
Which you graduated in 77, we'll just leave it at that. Do the math. But yeah, so I ran on the roads, and where there are trails, and ran on the trails, and where there weren't trails, we made them. We ran where it was comfortable. But whether I'm walking on any road in Madison, it's a 250-year-old town. These roads are like that. As in terms of traffic calming, there are time-tested ways to slow people down between point A and point B, rumble strips. Might make for an exciting ride on a bus or, low-line speed bumps, but it is conclusive that when you take boundaries and you widen a road, it makes people go faster. It does. Scientific data is there. So you have to look at the science and not just the emotion of one group calling out to you on a weekend. Everybody send an email now, because that's just one source of information. So please consider the other sources, the scientific sources. And let's see. Okay, I would like to know if this feasibility study can include checking into the feasibility of putting that trail between Danielham and the Neckbrook School. That would be money well spent, because there's another option, and you're not gonna know. Somebody said it'll cost too much. Why? You have to put a bridge over the creek. Well, you have to put a bridge over the creek on Green Hill Road too. Same thing. Same thing. And that bridge is only gonna be for cyclists or pedestrians.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
comment.
Thanks, Sharon.
Any other in the room comments?
In the room comment,
Okay,
I'm gonna do this, Heather Crawford, 553 Summer Hill Road, I'm going to do the things that didn't have to do with that application, one of which is you have liaison reports. I'm, in the interest of improving communication, do we have a liaison? Would anybody like to be a liaison?
I don't think we do for that.
Yeah. Yeah, because we overlap with so many other things in town. If there's anybody who'd like to talk with us on a semi-regular
It probably goes
basis.
along with land use and P and Z and all that too.
Not all of our boards and commissions have.
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I have like
Yeah.
60,
I do
60,
recognize
we have
that, but
60
yeah.
boards and commissions
But-
as well, so.
There's some
Understand.
questions
Yeah.
we'd love to be able to chime in on if you heard about them
Well,
in advance. Or we could just talk about before they became issues, giant issues. The second thing is that I saw that the money's coming out of the planning reserve, and as I said in October when we were talking about trees, that our goal for 2025 is to complete the natural resource inventory. So if somebody could tell me after the meeting how we tap into the planning reserve, because obviously we're gonna have to come to you for a question, I'm gonna have to write something up. Because we're gonna need funding for that.
yeah, that should go through Aaron. And we've already talked about, because there's a lot of action items of the POCD
Yeah.
that need to be funded, so we have a list of those, and we
Yeah.
talked about it in terms of the planning
Yeah, well, this one was ranked as high, so I'm like, I want to get up there at the front of the line.
Of course. Okay, thank you very much. I think we have a few hands raised online.
John Beats on.
Yeah. Go ahead, we can't, you're muted. Why is it showing muted on here and on there?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, this is John Bean at 104 Lovers Lane. Sorry, couldn't be there. I'm stuck with a head cold from one of these kids, I guess. But I just wanted to thank everybody for the support that was shown tonight for the sidewalks in town. I'm also, I should mention, the chair of Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I think this is the support tonight was really, there was a lot of great conversation. I personally live in a part of town where we do have sidewalks and use them daily. It's a great part of living here. While I don't live near the schools, I certainly look forward to utilizing them at the school area. And again, connecting 75% of the town's public school kids makes a whole lot of sense, whether I'm attending a sporting event or walking to school or working on safe routes to school. It just makes a lot of sense. So you don't necessarily need to live in the area to benefit from it. But I think neighbors that live in the area will benefit from it, like I do with the sidewalks here. I was also really happy to hear the discussion about the traffic calming. I think Scott said it. If we can save one life, this is a win. And we all know that Green Hill Road is a really dangerous and challenging roadway. When we consider all the school kids that will be there and the increase in traffic, that's going to increase. So just like the speaker before me said, we need to look very clearly at traffic calming, not just cutting trees, because I agree. If you're cutting down trees and making it wider, it's going to be more dangerous. We, with the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, have discussed many traffic calming measures, and that's a part of pedestrian improvements. So really happy to hear about that. I think also it's great to look at this holistically. I think Bruce, you mentioned this, but let's just do it all. I would love to sit down and chat with you about doing it all. But we're working on developing that master plan for the town and connecting town in a greater way. This is another really big block of that, and that will help a lot. So when we think about this, we're looking at making the town more accessible for pedestrians and cyclists, and just making it safer so that you can get around town without having to drive. Talk about saving the environment, right? Let's not drive cars. I pretty much ride my bike everywhere. Um, and then I want to speak to those in the room that don't understand the heat maps. Or called what I shared fake or made up. I'm not sure if that's even legal, actually. I'd be happy to go over them. There was nothing fake about them. And if you wanna meet and go through them, I'm happy to meet with anyone. The data was pulled at a weekly level, comparing the two sections, and it was pulled from a week in September. So we could go through that. And heat maps, for those that do not understand, they only use data from athletes. There's nothing related to a car or CO2 exhaust. It's not a technical heat map. It's athletes that have an app or a GPS running when they're doing a workout. That's where that data comes from. My example was looking at a week in September where I compared the two. And I think I shared those images to the Board of Selectmen. I'm happy to share them again. I can show you the timestamps, but I don't appreciate being called fake or made up. And I would like that to be reevaluated. So thank you again for the support tonight. And I'm happy to answer any questions. So take care.
Thank you,
Just a
John, for your
quick, it was me
comments.
who said that, so we can be clear. It's not the rest of the board. And I'd be happy to sit down and get a cup of coffee with you, because I use the same app. I ran the same heat map queries and came up with completely different information.
Hey, let's do it, Bruce. Or let's, better yet, let's go for a mountain bike ride and do it. I'll
Good Saturday morning.
I'd be happy to meet with you. Well, I got to get this head cold to clear, but once I'm better, obviously there's just a little misunderstanding, but all the data was verified. Again, none of the heat maps and stuff, I'm sure you know this, come from cars. This is all athlete driven, and you have to be a public facing athlete. So, but yeah, I'd be happy to meet a cup of coffee or a bike ride or something.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, John, for,
Yeah,
obviously
thank you all.
an important voice, and we're excited to see the townwide study, which will, which will be a great thing to move us forward in some of these conversations about, pedestrian improvements. We have one other hand raised, so a Jim. If Jim could please state their name and address. So,
sure, it's Jim Schmaltz, Jonathan's Landing. And just a quick question. I was confused on the timeline. Is the referendum date set to the budget vote also?
yes, May 6th is the same day as the budget vote.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, great. All right. So I think no other,
Since I came by me,
Okay.
Kristen Garnett,
Yes.
224 Green Hill Road. I'm actually relieved that you're thinking about safety on Green Hill Road, and I think it's important I think you should extend the study to the corner of Nortontown and Green Hill, because that intersection might be able to help absorb some of the traffic. You might be able to encourage people to go that way. The other thing we noticed this summer with the water main being installed is the section of road, and I've lived there 27 years and I've never thought of it this way, the section of road from the intersection of Green Hill and Mungertown to Warpus and Green Hill, there is no good alternate route. You have to go all the way down to the highway or Fort Path Road to bypass that section. There's just no alternate route for that 200, 300 yards of road. So you really want to think about if you ever had to get emergency vehicles through or whatever, that could really be a bottleneck there, because it was for all of us this summer when that water main was being installed. So I just would thank you for looking at the whole thing.
all right. Well, thank you for your comment. I think we have one other hand raised. Alex, could you state your name and address for the record? You're on. Could you hear us?
Hi, good evening. This is Alex Province, 917 Boston Post Road. Am I coming in clearly?
Yep. Sounds great.
Great. Really wonderful to see everyone involved to a very sensible decision. I appreciate all the thoughtfulness that went into deciding to move forward with the study. I just wanted to circle back, not to berate the point. I was pretty tough on this plan originally, and after having walked it, and as many know, am quite vocal proponent of preserving trees and nature. I think there is a absolute win-win situation that can be achieved to protect the environment, protect neighbors, save lives, and it can be a 1 + 1 = 3. We can still put a boardwalk across the wetlands and tie the campus together and complete a full loop, which would be pretty spectacular, where people could actually run, a pie-shaped circle. Also, the sidewalks themselves, I think, can also delineate and markate the school campus. And I think an outreach to the Madison Police Department to help with enforcement would also be a smart thing to do. But I think as drivers become more familiar with seeing sidewalks that create a school campus, it might resonate with them and get them to realize that they should be slowing down, that you're entering a campus where people are active and walking and running and everything else. So very proud of the decision that was made tonight. on behalf, I also sit on BPAC. We walked the route. There's a dozen of us that have spent many hours deliberating, taking into account neighbors and trees and looking at this from every which way. And I'm very proud of the decision you made tonight. Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Alex.
thank you. Appreciate the comment. Another hand is raised.
Jessica?
Thank you. Jessica Joseph, 129 Green Hill Road. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. Okay, I'll keep it brief because I know we're on time, but I just wanted to thank the board who voted in favor of just moving this forward and making good sense with a feasibility study that can kind of address different safety concerns in addition to potential sidewalks for pedestrians. That's all. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comment. And having seen no other hands raised, with that then, I guess, hear no objection, adjourned. Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Thanks for the good conversations.